And every discipline has its impact, or rather one can say unremitting impact on the person who does it. If you do history for a couple of years, how your orientation changes, how your perspective changes. And I have been reading, being a student, I have been interested in a question: who are these people who come to do anthropology? I mean, let us ask, who are these people? It's certainly not the first choice. And many people say that those who come to do anthropology are those who are rejected lost. So they have not been able to get admission in other disciplines, and so they come to do anthropology. Well, it may be true. It may be true that people come to anthropology as some kind of a underquote time pass. That let me be in this discipline for 1 year, then I'll move on to some other. But once they are in it, some kind of an inner transformation occurs. I joined the Department of Anthropology in 1985, and I thought of conducting a study. There's a very famous statement: charity begins at home. Why not study your own students? So I thought of studying my own students, asking them to write up at the end of the term what has been the impact of anthropology on their lives. After having done anthropology for 5 years, 3 years as graduate student and 2 years as master's. So how the entire thing has been transformed. And every year, almost 20-25 students who came to do social anthropology, they were given this exercise and they wrote up. And when I did a content analysis of all this, and I reported it in one of my papers which was titled The Impact of Anthropology, I found invariably the students talking about how anthropology has made them more tolerant. Some of them even went to the extent of saying that they nurtured and nursed a large number of prejudices and biases. But after doing anthropology, their entire conception changed. Some of them wrote that they started looking at the simian world, the world of the higher primates, differently than what they were seeing them earlier. Looking at the relationship, looking at the foundation of behavior in the behavior of chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutan, the three higher apes. Inner transformation, which came up. And later on, I read an article by Raymond Firth, which was published in The Teaching of Anthropology, where Firth did the same thing, same work with his student, asking these students how anthropology changes them. Because anthropology is not about us, anthropology is about them. It's about people living in the remotest corners of the world. And so we are dealing with people who are very different from us. We ask here how anthropology actually transforms the understanding. And that is why many of the anthropologists say that anthropology is like a contagion, like an infection. You don't come out of anthropology. It changes your perspective. Fieldwork brings about such a dramatic change in our persona that wherever we are always fieldworking. We are always collecting information. Right now when I am lecturing, I am looking at you. For me, this is a situation of fieldwork. And don't be surprised if tomorrow I write a short article on what was happening in the room in which I was lecturing. It is the mental orientation, how we change, and we look at the things differently. Thus, other disciplines are moving on to understand these societies which formed the crux of anthropology, societies which were cardinal to anthropological work. Today we have urban anthropology, we have industrial anthropology, We have a large number of anthropologists who are working on problems which are similar to the problems on which sociologists work, on which economists work. But the first commitment of every anthropologist is to study these societies, societies which hitherto were pre-literate, societies which were unmechanized, societies which were very different. Today, these societies are fast changing. Today, what we see in many societies, especially in South America, that they are a mutilated lot. I am quoting Levi-Strauss. And Levi-Strauss, in his famous lecture, which I would advise everyone to read, the lecture is titled The Future of Anthropology, where he says people who were indigent, I-N-D-I-G-E-N-E, they have become indigent, I-N-D-I-G-E-N-T. Indigent means the indigenous people have become poor, penurious, deprived, at the mercy of the outsiders. Their cultures have been attacked, ridiculed. They have been forcibly advised to change. And so today what you find when you go to these societies, that they are in a state of wreck. But it was not so earlier. Many of the anthropologists hypothesize, that's an important word, that the way these people lived at one time was the way in which humanity lived. A way of life in which nature dominated culture, and not the way of life in which culture dominates nature. Why these people are so much against the way development is going on? Because development gives precedence to culture, one which destroys nature. You know, unfortunately, we in Indian universities, we read too much of literature from America and from England. We do not read literature from Latin America. Not much is translated into English. If you read that literature, you find how some of these old notions, which at one time were central to primitive societies, how those notions are coming back. Number one, the notion of earth as mother, the idea of Mother Earth. We have umpteen number of examples where people did not want to shift to plowing, to plow the field, because they thought that plowing would mean tearing the breast of Mother Earth. I am quoting what the Baigas of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh have to say about plowing, about cultivation in which plow was used. They didn't want to. They wanted to remain as shifting cultivators. Looking at the mother, look at, if on one hand, this is a very interesting argument, if on one hand you come across the productivist mentality among many of these communities, some kind of an internal industrial enterprise in these communities, you also come across the way in which the management of the environment is controlled. You know, these archaeologists tell us that the stone implements were not made the way the popular images of human beings are shown. Generally, you have this image of that hundreds of stone pieces are lying and this man is sitting and fashioning them. No, it was not like this. The studies which have been done in different parts of the world, they say that there were at least 3 ways it was done. Number one, the mining of the flint. Flint is the stone. Number 2, developing these flints into nodules. And number 3, fashioning them into tools, into artifacts. For example, pickaxes for example, hammers. That this was done. It was some kind of an industrious activity. It was not so simple that you get these stones and start fashioning. Those images are popular images and they have not much to say. You can add to this the technology which was used in Mayan civilization or in South America, that how this was very, very elaborate. So productivist mentality. The second aspect is very important. Controlling, managing the environment. Look at these societies, and this is something it is teaching us. Look at these societies. They are having days when hunting should be tabooed. There are official announcements by the king or the chief or the other on when agriculture should begin and when it should finish. The instructions pertaining to how much should one hunt. So you have the cases of these communities where they say that the forest is having animals. I will go and hunt only those animals which I would eat. I will not harm the others. I was deeply touched, profoundly touched when I read in an article by Margaret Mead that the Samoans catch fish. They eat fish, and all the bones of the fish, they carry it back to the sea, and where they make a pit, put the bones in that, cover it up, stand up and say almost a ritual apology. I am sorry, I had to eat you, but had I not killed you, I would not have survived. But I am bringing you back to your destination. I am not talking about any other thing except the respect for resources. And this is something which is today is central to post-development discourse. And this is where anthropology plays a crucial role. You may be knowing that post-development discourse speaks in terms of, number one, this is not a universe, this is a pluriverse. That's the first idea, pluriverse. That this world is not one. When we say that this is universe, we have in mind what is called anthropocentrism. Man is the master of this universe. No, that is wrong. This world is a world of many universes. The world of plants, the world of animals, the world of inanimate things, the world of animate things. And all of us have to exist in a relationship of synergy. We have to be together. This actually tells us about many things. For example, the rights of plants, the rights of animals. Why, for example, dissection is being prohibited in zoology teaching. When I did zoology, we used to dissect a large number of animals. Not now. It is changing, completely changing. Number two, they say, the first idea is, it is not universe, it is pluriverse. Number two, it is not anthropocentrism which can guide you, because anthropocentrism is wrong, is bad. It is something which is responsible for the destruction. For destruction, we should think in terms of omnicentrism. Some people use the word biocentrism. The rights of all of them. We have to live in relationship with them. So we should think about animals, we should think about plants, we should think about other. And number three, that we should not think in terms of globalization, rather in terms of, very nice word, planetarization. Think about the planet, not about making the world global, but making the planet a happy one, making the planet in which all can survive. Anthropological writings on these communities have many things to teach you. For example, I'll take just one more example before I wind up. The example of non-competitiveness in these societies, which is a good idea. I'm reminded of an example which Claude Lévi-Strauss gave. The example is of the introduction of football in Papua and New Guinea, in the interior New Guinea, the tribals of interior New Guinea. And football was introduced by these missionaries, and the local people enjoyed the game and they learned it. When they started playing it, it was found, it's a beautiful example, you can use it in your classes. It was found that the game just would not finish. Okay? Two teams are contesting, one wins, the other loses, and they say, no, let us have another game, giving an opportunity to the other to win. They would keep on increasing the games till the time the balance was reached, so that no one is a winner and no one is a loser. They are same. And look, this idea comes up in many cultures. When I read this example for the first time, I was reminded of a Hindi song which came in one of the films of Mr. Raj Kapoor, and it was Tumhari bhi jai jai, hamari bhi jai jai, na tum hare, na hum hare. Now look at this, the same spirit is caught here, that Tumhari bhi jai jai, hamari bhi jai jai. You win, I win, both of us win, and eventually all of us should be winners. This is a situation in which competition is viewed very differently. In this there are leveling mechanisms. Economists have studied a lot of these leveling mechanisms, whereby one who produces more than the others, is supposed to give a feast, and eventually he would become like the others, like feasts of merit. They are very well known. Or the portage system, they all had the idea of leveling, trying to produce a situation in which there was no concentration of poverty and there was no concentration of wealth. And these communities, encourage this kind of a thing. Now, generally, when we look at these communities, we criticize them for being non-surplus oriented. Führer Heimmerdorf wrote a book on the Chenchus and said, well, these people are non-surplus oriented. They don't want to produce any surplus. Why it is so? It is because their cosmology of the world is different from what it is. This discourse of anthropology, where I see the relevance of anthropology. This discourse of anthropology is informing the contemporary debates on development, where development is being criticized for being almost like a curse. And so, how one can redeem the situation? Surely, I should not be misunderstood, or the anthropology should not be misunderstood, that they are not providing a solution to the crises which are coming up, the crises which are of diverse type, from climate change to rise of fundamentalism, rise of ideologies, so on and so forth. What anthropology does is, it provides an alternative vision from other societies, and it helps in formulating the problems in a different way. And that is the reason why more and more people from other disciplines are turning to anthropology. And this is where, in my opinion, the relevance of anthropology lies and the intellectual play. Coming to a more mundane thing. Well, if you look at the methodology which anthropologists champion, what is called fieldwork, this is not just confined to anthropology now. As I said earlier, More and more disciplines today are moving on to qualitative research, as it is called. The term qualitative research became very, very popular. In the last couple of decades. Earlier it was called ethnographic research. And this is something which actually tells us in knowing about the community as a whole. Many of the people from other disciplines, they have become suspicious, if not entirely skeptical of survey research, because they know in most of the surveys people give answers which are socially desirable or politically correct. So how would one know the reality? How would one know the situation? This would be possible when we carry out a first-hand field work, living with the people for a long period of time. That is where anthropological methods have made a dent. Anthropological methods have enriched the methods which are there. Now, we ask here, and this is just in a couple of minutes I will take up, if anthropology has so much to teach, if anthropology has so much to contribute in terms of ideas, in terms of the contemporary discourses in other disciplines, if anthropology has so much to teach, why is it that anthropology has become very cocooned, especially in India? Why it is so? One can find out many answers. I've tried to list some of these answers more as an insider. If I think that anthropology would have changed the face of the world, it would have at least provided us close insight from other communities. It could have made us far more humble than what it is. Levi-Strauss says at one place, Levi-Strauss says, and this is a very good example, he says that the governments, the statesperson, will learn a lot from anthropology. It would make them humble. It would make them appreciate the other ways of living. And Levi-Strauss supports this argument that how it can make people humble and it can help them in changing the discipline. He gives an example that after the occupation of Japan, one of the American statespersons in the General MacArthur's, he had a chance to read Ruth Benedict's very famous book called Chrysanthemum and the Sword. This is a book about the Japanese character, and the Americans wanted an abolition of monarchy in Japan. And after reading this book by Ruth Benedict, which is on Japan, the American government changed its original decision about the abolition of monarchy in Japan, which actually tells that how if the governments, if the statespersons, if other intellectuals read the writings of the anthropologists, they are bound to get number one, the other perspective, in contrast to, diametrically opposed to, the perspective which you find in Eurocentric, West-centric society, number one. Number two, it will help us in appreciating diversity. It will appreciate the existence of a variety of systems in which the world will survive as a pluriverse rather than as a universe. Now the question comes, why it is so? Why the anthropologists are like that? You see, there is a lot of, and here I am being very critical of the anthropologists, there is a lot of elitism which goes on in anthropology. First, elitism that anthropological texts can only be understood by anthropologists. There are anthropologists who oppose the introduction of anthropology in schools or even in colleges. they say, well, only people who have done other discipline, they will be able to understand. Then you have the second reason I find is myopic specialization, little specialization. Within the department, the subject has become so much fragmented with the consequence that we are unable to see the relationship between one and the other. Please keep in mind that here I am not only talking about social anthropology, I am talking about physical anthropology, I am talking about archaeology and about linguistic anthropology. We also find that the post-colonial criticism of anthropology has really been damaging. That anthropologists are the spies, anthropologists are the handmaidens of colonialism, they have been supporting the government, or a very famous statement which came in the work of Kathleen Gough, that anthropology is nothing but the bastard sister of European colonialism. These kinds of assessments of anthropology, they have been really been damaging. Although we should know that anthropologists really did not support colonialism on any kind of bringing the other societies under their dominance. Then another reason is the loss of native. We usually call loss of native. The primitive communities are no more primitive. They have changed. So what is that we would study? We have lost our subject matter. But here's a very important point is that we have to study how the changes are occurring. We have to look at the direction of these changes. And please remember that the change does not mean that cultures are uprooted. The resilience of culture has to be appreciated. We also find within our discipline, you see, the debate about whether it is a science or not. Many people argue that it is generalization is something which is not possible, and so we should refrain from calling it a science. We should also not forget that there has been a decline in the fieldwork tradition. This is something which is really worrying the anthropologists like us. We are really worried because we did intensive field study and we were advised by our teachers to be spending a long time. Now what is happening is that people spend less time in the field. They try to cover up, or they try to fill the gaps by bringing in a lot of theory rather than looking into the fact. Many of us who go to work in our own communities, we generally take many things for granted rather than following the methods of defamiliarization. So this is something which needs to be looked at. In fact, in the anthropology department, one of the usual debates is how to enrich the field methods, how to inspire students, incite students to go to work in those communities which are fast changing. If you take up the example of our country, according to the Peoples of India project, we have 4,635 communities, of which in almost 700 communities today belong to what is called scheduled tribe. A large number of these communities, number one, have not been studied. And what is available are sketchy notebooks, sketchy writings, sketchy work, something which is called, in our language we call it parachute anthropology. Like a parachute, you land and then you go away. The other word used for this is blitzkrieg anthropology. Blitzkrieg, like the lightning. It just comes and it disappears. So you go to the community where you are doing a field work for a short period of time and then write up. The kind of field studies which were carried out earlier, notwithstanding the difficult circumstances, almost inhospitable situations, the field work which was done, is not really there. And anthropologists have spent, as I said, millions and millions of hours studying the other and writing about them. And if you read those accounts, some of these accounts are almost 100 years old. They actually tell us about everything of the people. And how did this knowledge come up? Just because they spent a long time with people. Anthropologists also say that when economists, when political scientists or linguists or historians, when they carry out their field study, they should adopt the field methodology in letter and spirit. Follow all the instructions which are there. Only then you would be able to understand the role. We tell our students, and I'm telling you because I know many of you would be tomorrow doing field study. We tell our students that the data you collect in the first 3 months of your field work, after inspection and living in the community for a longer time, you find all those data which you collected in the first 3 months, they are wrong. People were telling you socially desirable answers rather than what the reality is. You have to be there. Then the matter about language. We generally think, well, I am from the native area, I know the language. You know the language, but you do not know the nuances of the language. You do not know the grammar of the language. And therefore, you have to learn your own language in the same way as you would learn the language of the other. This actually is the idea which lies under the concept of defamiliarization, that make the familiar strange and then you try to understand. Because as new ethnography, one of the approaches within anthropology says is we have to get inside the heads of the other people to understand what they are. It's a very mystical way and also very abstract way of saying how to get inside the heads of the other. We have to try to approximate what they are actually thinking, and therefore you have to know not only the language but also the non-verbal symbolism. We have to understand not only the sentential knowledge but also what is called non-sentential knowledge, the way people behave, the physical expressions and the other, and for this a long field work is required. Anthropology boasts and this is a great thing, that once you have started your field work would never end. It is a ceaseless activity. You go back to the same community again and again. We have the cases of restudy. We have the cases of visiting the same people again and trying to understand them. So we have this tradition of knowing the same people again and again. There are cases of anthropologists who have been visiting the same location for the last 38 years or even more. The same people. You never end. The relationship never ends because fieldwork creates a situation in which you come to know the other in its wholeness, in its fullness. Then you appreciate how the others live. So at the level of methodology, it helps us knowing the law. When you come to a number of other aspects where, say, for example, anthropological knowledge can be used. For instance, in knowing people's beliefs and practices. Medical anthropologists have stated time and again that we have to understand how people look at their cosmologies. I read Dr. Reddy's book on tsunami. It gives several instances of how the local people were able to understand that something dangerous was going to happen just by looking at the movement of the birds, just by looking at the movement of the animals, and also the sea waves. they were able to get an idea. Now, it is not a part of our knowledge, it is a part of their knowledge. We have to understand people in their context, and this is the aim and objective of anthropology. When anthropologists shift to urban areas, to industrial areas, this is exactly what they do. What they do. They do not move on to survey researches. They do not work the way the economists work or sociologists work. They pick up a neighborhood in an urban area. They pick up a group of workers and try to study them as intensively as possible, because anthropology is based on the idea of inductive logic, that you have to understand a local situation and from which you generalize about the whole. These are the objectives of anthropology, and these objectives will continue. The relevance of anthropology lies in, to sum up, providing an alternative perspective. That this alternative perspective has enriched the contemporary debates in development studies, is a sign of the vitality, is a sign of the vivaciousness of anthropology. Number two, in terms of its methodology, in terms of understanding a local situation as intimately as possible, understanding the local thing as correctly as possible. I think you know it, that these life histories have enriched our understanding. You understand the life of an individual, just one individual. What is that it is helping you to understand? It is helping you to understand how that society is shaping the individual. It is not the life of the individual which is per se important, it is the society which has shaped it. So both in terms of its intellectual reservoir, in terms of its methodology, anthropology has made an impact, and this impact is going to last. Anthropology will continue to live till the time there is humanity. Till the time there is humanity. It will always be there. And anthropology was always there when humanity began. Look at, the anthropological sensibility. For example, in the work of Ibn Khaldun. Look at the Korean dignitaries. The half-brother of King Munmun. He wanted to become a prime minister only after he had gone in the country incognito and had known the people. Something which is said about Akbar also, that Akbar wanted to know how people were living, because how would you be able to rule? You would not be able to rule unless you know the people closely. Anthropology has beginning in this kind of knowing of people, in terms of its intellectual resources, in terms of providing an alternative, in terms of formulating the problems in a different way, keeping in mind the alternative ways of living, and also in terms of methodology. Anthropology is truly a vital discipline. I hope your university thinks of starting a department of anthropology. Thank you very much. Please ask me any questions. Come and sit for a while. Yes, of course.
See, one has been speaking about the first work being the best work. That's what was our list of in fact, as Andhra mentioned about Cecil other every one of these people. Unfortunately, barring a few, that remains the best and the end. They never go back to the field. look back at all that, hardly anyone, and you can count them with your fingertips. Fieldwork is well said. Hardly anyone has gone back. This is number one. Number two, in the present context, fieldwork is a time-consuming process. And given this time and space compression, everyone wants quick results, just like you talk about fast food or 2022. Just like that, you want to finish the problem. Nobody has the time and patience to do fieldwork for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. Because at the end of the day, what do I get after I complete those pieces? How do I get a job? That's the first question. Where does it lead to? Now, looking at even anthropology, I appreciate all the ideas, wonderful coverage of the whole. I go back, I've been this friend both in sociology and maintain contact with anthropology. I go as a research administrator, and now I look at what happens in the overall social science situation. 19 disciplines are covered by this national funding organization. Anthropology is nowhere in the middle or in the mainstream of social science funding. That's the reason one has to ask. I mean, there are so many other reasons inside and outside that we leave it apart. Then what happens? I visit Bastar. Now look at how things work. We go to the market, we want to see how they behave and how we urban people act and react. My wife again, she is an anthropologist. So we went to the market and they were wearing traditional jewelry. So she happened to say, can I touch your jewelry and see how it is? She said, okay, go ahead, look at it, no problem. Now would that an urban person allow another person to have a look at it? Touch, forget about touching it. Two, when they are selling their wares, we ask them what is the price of this. They say it's only this, 5 rupees. Here if you go in an urban market, they put it in a plastic packet and give it to you. There, they put it in leaves and give it to you. So they had that economy, barter system goes on. Still, even in the present system, they have this. Now whatever we say, now when we come back to, when we navigate through all this social anthropology and anthropology, unfortunately, very few Indian social scientists or anthropologists are studying other societies in other countries. We have experts on India, whether they come from California or they come from Netherlands or anything. We had a major program on the Indo-Dutch program. Most of it now, all became Eurocentric, not Indo-centric. These are things which one will have to look at. Why is it that Indian scholars are not doing it? Study. They go to study for something else, but do we do it? Many organizations do not. So fieldwork is well said. You need time, you need resources, and you need collaboration. The moment you say fieldwork in an outside country, apart from the language, you also have to have a different type of methodology, which will not work. We have a methodology, so it's not the one which will work. So you have to think of comparative methods, looking at problems, working in it.
Thank you very much. These 4 points. I shall respond to them quickly. The first is about the first work. Well, all these works you refer to by Professor Anthropos M.N. Srivastava, and of course R.K. Mukherjee, they were their first works and they made them very famous. Andre's Caste, Class and Power is still read. Srinivasa's Religion and Society in the Course of South India is still read. Srinivasa's book was published in 1952, and it is still a very relevant work. And this is also true that I don't think Professor Vidya went to Sripuram after having studied this. Or even if he might have gone, he did not conduct any study, no restudy. The same goes with Srinivas. Srinivas moved on to some other thing. I think part of the answer is that all these studies were doctoral studies. And when you work for your doctorate, the work is very different from when you work later. It's a very, very basic difference. The doctoral work can always be rejected, and therefore you have to be extra cautious. You spend a lot of time and energy doing it, almost 4 and 5 years. But surely Indian scholars have not carried out restudies. But we have a whole tradition of restudy in English scholarship. Raymond Firth was a very good example, who went back to the Jacobians again and again and wrote about them. Perhaps it is important that these anthropologists and sociologists carry out their studies again, because when most of them went for their studies, they were young people, and now when they would go, they'd be old, senior citizens. So perhaps the whole orientation and also the kind of work which is done will change. So this is one, and I entirely agree with you that their first works are very good, and they have not done their field studies later. But as we become seminar persons, we become jet professors, we become conference men, or we found an NGO, so other things take away our time and we dissipate our energy. The second thing about fieldwork being time consuming, yes, of course, it is time consuming. But I would say that one would not be able to learn the other unless one spends time. You have to be there. And it is not, I'm telling you honestly, it is not that all of us are like that. I supervised a student who worked on Angami Nagas. She came from Delhi. She was not from Nagaland. And she went back, she went to Nagaland, stayed in a village in Kohima for 1 full year, tried to learn the language, wrote an excellent thesis. And all the three examiners, they recommended its publication. We don't have supervisor as an examiner, which happens in some universities. And in our case, our examiners are, as you know, are from outside. And all the three examiners said, and I advised this student, I hope she does not hear this, I advised her to publish her thesis, which she has not done, because other busy schedule. So there are cases of people who have carried out their field study. There are certainly advantages in carrying out a study of one's own community. Several advantages. One of them is linguistic. The other is you know the people. So rapport establishment would be an easy thing. But then one has to subscribe to the famous statement from Emile Durkheim, I do not know a social fact unless I study it. So I have to be there, I have to study. I have not to take anything for granted. And so just because fieldwork is time consuming, it doesn't mean we give it up. On the other hand, we should try to make use of our time. We tell our students, and the same thing applies to sociology as well. We tell our students that you have 3 years program, PhD is a 3 years program, 1 year for secondary sources, collection of secondary data, the second is fieldwork, the third is analysis of data and writing up. And so by the end of the third year, or maybe 3 years and few months, you should be in a position to submit. We always insist that the fieldwork should be very good, and we want them to stay there. Don't run away. Don't run away. And if you can't do your fieldwork in a far-off community, do it in your neighborhood. No harm in doing that kind of a work. I have many cases. One of my students wanted to work in Bastar, and she went there, and after 10 days or so she fell ill, and she came back. And she said, it would be very difficult for me to live there. I said, all right, you do some other work. And then she studied monasteries in Delhi. The point is not that one should go thousands of miles away. The point is that whatever you take up for your study, do it as diligently as possible, spending time. The third thing about that's very true. What Dr. Bani has pointed out is very true, that most of the Indian anthropologists have conducted their studies in India. They have gone back to their own state.